Hello world, my name is Matt Worldly and this is my laboratory located in Denver, Colorado. Today, we're spitballing. We're talking about life. But before we start, I want to say, fuck you evil. Fuck you fear. You don't intimidate me. Your darkness cannot outshine my light. I've worked way too hard for this shit. Yesterday, fear knocked on my back door. Evil knocked on my back door. And it tried to intimidate me. And I just stared it in the face. I didn't say anything. I just stared it right in the face. And then when evil was done yapping its fucking mouth, I slowly closed the doors. And then evil still tried to speak to me through the walls, through the window. And I ignored it. But I admit, momentarily, I was overtaken by the fear and the pressure of evil. The heart inside of me, it changed. I got that knot in my chest. And then I said, wait a minute. I know what's going on here. I'm being tested. I've entered a new paradigm and a new way of being. And this is God asking me, has anything changed? Are you still the same person? And in that moment I said, no, definitely not. So I sat down and I meditated. I did some breath work and I had a nice little mantra, something along the lines of, I fear no man, I am present, I am strong, and I forgot the last one, let's just say extremely attractive and unbelievably sexy. Anyway, I did the mantra, I sat down, I moved through it, and throughout the day, there was a little bit of, this that came through. But that's okay, because this is okay. This, maybe not so much, right? This fear looming over us, whatever it is, I don't know what your fear may be, but when it's looming over us like this, we have to ask ourselves, does this belong to me? Or is this an external force trying to influence my emotions? And if I am present, and if I am strong, and if I am very handsome and very sexy, then I can let fear move through me. Because maybe that's what fear fears the most, is acceptance. I recently just got back from drinking ayahuasca, and I find that every time I return from something like that, I don't return to the same dimension. I don't return to the same world. I'm in a completely different place, and I'm a completely different person. Not metaphorically, but literally. I feel like this medicine has the ability to transport us to a completely different timeline. And when I got back this time, there's a few things that happened. Some things in my relationship that I had to confront. Some things about my family that I discovered are quite heartbreaking. And then this fear thing came along. And before I went into the ayahuasca ceremony, I set an intention, as everybody should, before drinking ayahuasca. Don't ever drink ayahuasca without setting an intention first. The first time I drank ayahuasca, my intention was, God, help me bridge the gap between myself and my wildest dreams. Help me understand the void. Help me build a bridge, but help me understand the void so that I can learn to love it and form a relationship with it. And that void is ultimately fear. And boy, did I get what I asked for. And I'll probably make another video talking about that. But this time, when I went into the ceremony, my intention was more like, Dear God, I'm over it. I'm over my addictive habits. All of them. Drinking and smoking and binge watching and boobies and TV and just melting. The numbness. I'm over it. I'm so over it. Help me understand. Help me understand it better so that I can move through it. And you'll never believe what happened. I closed my eyes after I had my first drink, and slowly but surely started to have these visions. And the first vision I had was this old, decrepit woman, and she was missing her jaw, and her tongue was hanging out of her mouth. And I'm like, what in the fuck is that? And she had a cane, and she was hobbled over, and she was probably 10 million years old. And she was some sort of entity and some sort of spirit. And at first I had no idea what I was seeing or what I was experiencing, and then it all clicked. This woman, this being was living inside of me, and it was using my body as a house. And it was feeding off of all of my bad habits, feeding off of my fear, feeding off of my numbness, feeding off of my scarcity mindset, feeding off of my doubts. And once I saw her and realized she was there, it's almost like I didn't have to ask her to leave. She was like, my time's up, like a bum sleeping in the airport. It's like, hey, right? And she hobbled away with her tongue hanging out. And I'm just like, thank you, thanks for hanging out. And the reason why I bring this up is I think this is really important as we move through life and we work through our own challenges. We have to acknowledge that there is a very spiritual aspect to fear and numbness that may not necessarily be our own. And what I mean by that is in this dimension here that we can't see, call it what you want, but there are leeches and parasites and beings that are looking for a house, for a home. And it is when we embody the best version of ourselves that we call in and we prepare for the best guests, to invite the best guests over to join us in life. But when we become a vessel for numbness and drugs and sex and God knows what, we become targets for evil. And, maybe this woman wasn't necessarily evil. And I'm not trying to judge her. Maybe she had a very difficult life and she hasn't quite been able to pass through the dimension where she's liberated and can be one with God, and she's stuck in this very low vibrational state. But imagine that that's going on for each and every one of us. And they don't teach this stuff in school. They should, but they don't. Sure, we understand the external components, creating new habits, turning off our phone before we go to bed so we don't wake up and that's the first thing we do. Reading books instead of watching TV, dedicating at least 15 to 20 to 30 minutes a day to meditation or exercise. It's these little habits that can help us in the physical realm. But what about the spiritual realm? I think it's extremely important to acknowledge that it is real, so that if we have a practice, if we have a meditation practice, that we can communicate with these entities, with these beings, and we can set them free. Before I end this video, I desire to to say congratulations to all of you for liberating yourselves from fear. Maybe you haven't yet, but I know 100% that you're going to, because you're strong, because you're beautiful, because the world is going through a rapid transformation right now, and the darkness is going to do its best to inhibit our light. But the only thing the darkness can do is try to trick us into thinking that it has more power over us. But it doesn't. It just doesn't. It was a really beautiful thing that someone said one time, like you can hold a candle, one single candle in a dark room and illuminate the whole room. But if you have a room full of light and a little bit of dark, that dark can't do anything. That darkness ain't gonna do shit. So that's how I'm gonna end this video. Take care of yourself. Meditate. Breathe. Surround yourself with people who build you up and who hold you accountable to your bullshit. Be free. I love you.